Hi guys, welcome back to our Get Real series. This is episode 3 and this week we are going to be getting real about the topic of sex. And to kick us off, we are going to talk about some of the awkward stories and awkward things that have happened around the topic of sex. Has anyone got any awkward stories around
Yeah,
that?
fully. I remember when I was younger and we were, I think, watching a film or a documentary or something, and this sex scene happened on the TV, and it just got worse and worse. And you could sense yourself stop watching and sensing the vibe in the room. So it was me and my parents, and my only child, so I didn't even have a brother or sister. And I thought, I've got to do something. Have you ever noticed that colour on the wallpaper? And literally, Ed was like, no, oh yeah. And then a 3-minute conversation about the wallpaper happened. It was really, really bad. It was awful.
I've got. So when I was younger, and I've got a younger sister, and we were out as a family just for a walk in the park, and which is when my sister was quite young, and we're walking along and we noticed that these dogs started having sex in front of us, and my sister goes, oh look, they're doing the doggy conga.
Brilliant. I remember being in about year 5 and one of my mates in primary school showed me this book that he'd found in the library that was all about sex. And I misread it at the time, and I went home and announced to my family that I knew the word for the lady parts, and it was vinegar. It was awful. It was properly awkward. Let's kick off then. Laura, why don't you tell us, what does the Bible say about sex? What does God say about sex?
Yeah, so the Bible, it says loads about sex. There's loads in there about it. There's stories about it, stories about where sex has been used well, where it hasn't, where it's been really harmful and hurtful for people. But the Bible basically talks about saving sex for one person, to be with one person. And one of my favourite verses as I grew up was around, do not arouse or awaken love until the proper time. And that time being marriage, really. And I think for me it's really important that we recognise that sex is an amazing thing, it's a great thing, it's something that God's created, designed, it's something that He wants us to do, but it's something that He wants us to do well and to use well as well. I hadn't had sex before we got married, and I think for me it made such a difference to our relationship to have that one thing that I'd only shared with you. So if you think about it a bit crude, but I guess like going to Nando's or something, and you only have one thing that you ever do with one person. If I've been to Nando's with everyone, it kind of takes the fun away from going to Nando's. Maybe that's an euphemism, going to Nando's. But I think
extra spicy.
Yeah. But I think sex is great, sex is brilliant, but the thing that makes it most brilliant is that I've done it with one person. The experience in itself is fantastic, but the thing that makes it amazing is it's something I've shared with one person and has created really deep intimacy with one person. And I think really that's what the Bible says as well.
Right. Rebs, why would you say that God says to save sex for marriage? Is He trying to spoil our fun? Why would He say that?
So actually I've got a bit of an illustration to kind of use with this. So what I've got behind me is I've got some sellotape. So Andy, do you mind just kind of
Go on, Andy.
helping me out a little bit here? So imagine when you have sex with someone, it's like you create a bond with that person. And the bond, it's solid, and that bond was intended by God and you're supposed to be there, but when you break up with them, it's like that bond.
Really hurt?
It's quite a little hair.
But actually, if you break up with that person, if that relationship then doesn't work, that bond is then taken away, and actually that can be painful. And God doesn't want that for us. He intended it to be between you and the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Actually, this bond is really important to have with someone. This bond is really important. It's a commitment, and it's a solid bond that God intended for two people. And actually, if you're having sex, and like I say, if you break up with someone, it can be really painful. And God doesn't want that for you. But equally, it says in the Bible as well about God making you new, and if you have had sex before, then actually God can fix this, and He can make sure that actually when you are ready to have sex with your partner, with your husband, with your wife, then actually He can make this bond strong again. But it's about the importance of keeping this where it's supposed to be.
It's great, Rebs. It's great. So how do you not have sex before marriage? Like Jack and Jess, you're not married, you're not engaged yet, unless Jack, you want to. No, awkward. Like, how do you define like how far is too far?
Yeah, it's quite a hard one, and so many people have different perspectives on it. That some people would say, oh, X is too far, and other people would say, well, Y is too far, whatever it might be. And actually, we kind of realised that what we think is too far, the way we can avoid any kind of falling into going whatever you think is too far, is by saying, okay, this is where we draw the line, and so actually the way we want to live is back here, and so actually we say this is too far, and so we're going to say we're going to not do these things, so that if we did mess up, for example, this isn't what we do, but for example, if you said, okay, going too far is this, and so we're not going to even kiss before we're married, then that means that if you messed up, as you would classify it, is you would kind of, all you do was kiss each other. Does that make sense? So you're not going too far, and you're not doing something that you really hate or regret, but actually you are putting those boundaries in place, and actually we would kind of describe those as crash barriers. You would kind of, it's kind of the last resort of saying, actually, we don't want to go this far, and so we're going to put this in place, so we don't even get close to this stage.
Right.
So like the barrier is before you've gone too far.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really wise.
Definitely.
And I think it's really important to talk about that really honestly with each other. I think when it gets really difficult is when you don't talk about it, then you go too far and it's like, oops, shouldn't have done that. But something that we did is from the very beginning, we spoke about what we thought was too far, and that's a conversation that we actually have all the time, because as you learn to get to know each other more, different things might be too far for you then. So I think it's really important to be honest about that. But another thing is, I heard a guy called Andy Stanley, who leads a church in America, say, don't sacrifice the ultimate for the immediate.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
What I think, how you can take that in terms of relationships is, the ultimate for me and for Jack is our hearts. Like, I really care about Jack's heart, and I know that what's best for Jack's heart is for me to not tempt him, for me to not kind of leave him in a situation where he then feels like he's done something wrong, and that's not been what God's best has been for his life. So if that means me sacrificing the immediate feel-good feeling in the moment to prioritise his heart, that's what I want to do. And just one last thing, that actually there's different ways of showing love to people, and we seem to think that the only way to show that we love someone is through sexual actions,
really
but actually how can I show Jack that I love him through the way that I treat him in different ways. And you might be sat there thinking, well, I've already gone too far. Maybe you're in a relationship and you think you've gone too far. It's never too late to reset. It's never too late to have that chat where you almost reset your relationship. Or if you're single, it's never too late to reset your relationship with God in that way. And Rebs did a brilliant job of explaining God's forgiveness before. I think that's really important too.
And I think when you look at the book of Ephesians, like if you think about if you're a person that's gone too far, like read the book of Ephesians, because Ephesus was a place where sex was rife. People were having sex with everybody all the time. There's orgies, all that kind of stuff happening. And Paul is writing to the Christians in Ephesus, and he spends 3 chapters telling them who they are in Christ and who God has made them to be, and what God has designed their life and their purpose to be. And then he says, because God has called you to this, live like this. And he's not writing to a bunch of virgin Christians who've grown up in the church. He's writing to a group of people who have been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. And he's saying, you are still called to live like this, and it's not too late. And like, I think regret can be something that holds us down, and we carry regret and we carry guilt. But actually, I think we should use regret to shape our lives into a different direction.
Yeah.
Like if you think about fire, you know fire is hot and you don't touch it because you can see that it's hot, but also some of us might have been burnt by the fire, which means that then we don't go back to the fire.
Yeah.
And actually we've got to use regret and the mistakes that we've made to shape our lives into a different direction.
Yeah.
And I think don't carry the guilt around with you, but forgive yourself. Like forgive the other person.
Yeah.
Forgiveness isn't about holding something against them.
Yeah.
It's about releasing the pain from you and saying, I'm letting go of this.
I think it's really important as well to kind of recognise that some people will have had sex or had sort of a sexual encounter and that won't have been their choice. That some people actually have been through situations where maybe their virginity was taken from them, where their kind of early sexual encounters were taken from them. And I think it's just really important that someone in that position recognises that God is not disappointed with them or angry with them or doesn't see them as dirty or any of those sorts of things. That was not their choice. And that actually the forgiveness stuff you talked about just now is really important in that situation as well. That God can bring complete healing, physical healing, but emotional, spiritual healing into those situations of
really
real
good.
brokenness.
Yeah.
But forgiving yourself, and I think even going as far as to moving towards forgiving others in that situation is a really important step as well. And God wanting to restore what sex can be for those people as well.
Yeah, that's really good. I think one of the biggest difficulties at the moment in the world of smartphones and stuff is the topic of pornography. Like porn is so available to us. Like at the touch of a button, we can get it up on our phones right there and then. Dan, what would you say are some of the dangers of pornography and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'll take the bullet for this one. It's okay. I think what I would say is that porn is almost like it's false. It's like it's a lie. I think it creates this. I think it's also important to say that actually both guys and girls struggle with this. I think sometimes it can be stereotyped to actually guys being the only people who watch porn. Actually, there's but girls do it as well. But it's a slippery slope because it's a lie, and I think it creates this idea that sex has to be a certain way. So especially for maybe people who haven't had sex but they've watched porn, maybe they create their idea of what sex should be from the porn that they've watched. And I think you have to think about who's in it. Because maybe the porn actors or actresses in it aren't actually enjoying themselves. Maybe they feel obligated. Maybe they feel like they have to look like they're enjoying it, which isn't good for them. But also, maybe they're not being forced to do it. Maybe they just know that to make the money or to put on a good show, they have to look like they're enjoying it. So you look at it and feel, they've enjoyed it every single time they've done it, and they do it in that way, and that's what sex should be like. So I think it can be like that, and then it's like almost like when we do get to the point when we have sex with people and then we realise that sex isn't like the porn that maybe some of us might have watched. Maybe we're disappointed, and then I think there's been cases where some people have said, let's try to do this, and then the other person's not comfortable doing that. But because you're not fully satisfied, because you've almost been more satisfied with the porn that you've watched than the sexual relationship you're having, it's unhealthy for both of you, and then they get hurt, and then in return you get hurt. And I think it's also important to say that porn is addictive. It's not just a hobby that some people can stop doing, because if it's triggering something in your brain that says you're having pleasure, and then you're not getting that pleasure from the sex that you're having, then you're gonna continually go back to porn and you rely on it. So I think it's a very dangerous slope. And society and in films, it says that it's just a normal thing. It's like it's just a natural part of life. It's just something that you do. Which is all a lie. So it's a very slippery slope, I'd say.
It's so destructive, isn't it? And I think like Kanye West was quoted as saying that he'd rather watch porn than have sex with his wife sometimes, which is just massive, isn't it? That's so destructive. And I think like if you're a person who's struggling with porn, like the whole guilt factor gets loaded on top of it. Like, what's some of your advice of if somebody was struggling with an addiction to pornography, what are some of the ways that you would say that someone could deal with that and approach that?
So I think it's important to talk about it. I think if you're struggling with porn and you have people around you who care about you, say like your youth leader, maybe sometimes it's awkward, but in some cases a parent or a godparent, or someone who you trust, who you know you can trust, talk to them about it, and if they've got your best interests at heart and at mind, they'll understand what you're going through. And I think the likelihood is, if they're older than you, they would have gone through that as well. So they can empathise with what you're going through. So it's so talk to them about it, be real with them. I mean, I know there's a website, like it tells you about how, I think it's called Fight the New Drug, and it talks you about how you can deal with it. And it says, the first thing it says, find an accountability partner. Find someone who you can be accountable to, who can say how's it been for you today, and then like it says, this is how you can tell that person you're struggling. And then it's like, if you still find it too hard to talk to them about, here's a pre-written message that you can send to them.
Oh wow,
that's really helpful.
And it says to them like it's taken this person a lot of courage, so please understand. So that's really, really great. So that's what I would say. There's resources, and tell people who you know care about you.
It gets rid of the whole secrecy thing.
So important.
It's like rotting from the inside if you keep it a secret, isn't it?
Are there any other tips that you guys would say? I mean, on the crash barriers thing, like that you said, like I would say be really smart. Like if it's via your phone, like don't have your phone next to your bed. Like leave your phone downstairs, or leave your tablet downstairs, or if it's via a certain platform, then get rid of those platforms. Find a way to stay far away from it as possible.
And like on Snapchat, we have you'll have like Daily Mail on there now, or Cosmopolitan, and then sometimes there'll be sexualized images of celebrities on there. So I've known people who have they've said, it's too hard for me, I've got to delete Snapchat for a bit until I deal with this. It's just so accessible, there's no age restriction on it. So
I think one of the things as well, real curveball to throw in last minute around porn, is that a lot of the problem with porn is not only is its addictive nature, but it's objectifying a person. So the person becomes, sex doesn't become an act of love, it becomes about what you can get from that object. And I think as a girl, I know loads of girls that did struggle with porn, but for me it was more fantasy, which sounds odd, but sort of romantic novels and romantic books. And again, it's not the same thing, but you begin to I would objectify a guy to get what I needed from them. And it wouldn't necessarily be physical, but it would be a romantic story, affirmation, someone who would sweep you off your feet, tell you look great, all these sorts of things. And so I think whilst for some young people it may be kind of porn and kind of pornography and nudity and that kind of thing, I think sometimes it can be escaping into this fantasy world where you objectify the opposite sex to be whatever you need them to be to make you feel better. And if that is romantic stories or books or films or songs, whatever, it just makes somebody else become a something that you can leech off of to make yourself feel better.
And I think that's a really good place to finish today, because sex isn't about what you get out of it. It's about giving of yourself, and that's why it's so important. That's why God, who created sex, says save it to give it to that one person, because it's not about you getting your desires fulfilled. It's about giving of yourself and giving your body to somebody, which is really important. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If anything that we have said has affected you, or you need to respond, please do talk to one of your leaders, talk to someone who you trust, get prayer. Please do move forward. We really believe that God wants you to have great sex in the right context. Guys, we will see you next week. Next week we are talking about getting real, about breaking up. Don't miss it, it's going to be really interesting.